Alright, hello everyone, and now welcome to Game 2 in the series. Apparently, Game 1 had a little bit too much lag, so they decided to switch servers, and hopefully things will be a little bit better. 120 is spawning on the bottom right-hand side of the map under the name Awake and Pray. Meanwhile, over here on the top left, we see Lucifer spawning as the Gray Undead. Gonna speed things up just a little bit, as time is always of the essence for me, as things are now unraveling and unfolding. It looks like it will be a Dreadlord coming in from Lucifer, so a Dreadlord first against a Death Knight. 120 deciding to stick with the classic unit. Meanwhile, I guess a Lucifer opening up with a very classic unit with a Dreadlord first. And to be honest, I'm not really quite sure what to make of this. This was a Crypt first Dreadlord delay, and we may see perhaps a sleep come into play and get a very early surround on this Death Knight. Alright, the ghouls are now coming in. The Dreadlord was spotted, and the Death Knight decides against trying to take it out. So far, the Dreadlord is not a very common hero at all, as we're looking at the Death Knight, who did end up getting surrounded. Is he gonna get surrounded? Oh no, surround! There is the second surround, and a Scroll of Town Portal will end up being used here, as the Scroll of Town Portal quickly used up there. Alright, great use of a Dreadlord sleep, making sure that the Death Knight now no longer has that Scroll of Town Portal and is behind 350 gold. Also, more importantly, you buy yourself time to try and clear out much more difficult creep camps. You can see a very low hit point ghoul being forced to retreat here, but the more important units, the Troll Berserkers with medium armor, getting taken out first, as they are rather easy to take out for this normal damage. Alright, Tome of Intelligence +2, very important on that Dreadlord. More mana equals more sleeps. Meanwhile, we're taking a look at the Crypting. The Crypting may be able to get off a Death Coil steal, and there is no steal. Instead, the Dreadlord purposely stopped right before it went below 100 hit points. The Death Knight, not knowing that, waited a second, or just tried to come in with the Death Coil to steal it, but a beautiful play by Lucifer there in order to steal a little bit of that, or maintain and get a little bit more of that experience again. Alright, coming back around, Death Knight attempting to take down some skeletal minions, has no problems there, getting 12 experience finally now on the board. Meanwhile, what's going on over here? It looks like a number of skeletal minions are just trying to rush inside this base here. Not gonna really work, as there are so many ghouls and a Nerubian tower slowing things up. Dreadlord, however, is a rather slow hero, so I don't believe it's gonna be that beneficial. And if we see perhaps Carrion Swarm, as we are not looking at Vampiric Aura, I'm still not quite sure what to make of this game as of yet. So far, the Dreadlord is just wandering around in the center portion here, and none of these players look like they have a well thought out definitive plan or strategy that they're working towards. They're just going through the game. They're going to be getting the tier 2, setting up the obsidian, setting up the slaughterhouses, and just trying to do things traditionally. Meanwhile, Lucifer is instead going to be moving into gargoyles, it appears. Double crypt with a graveyard. It does look like it will end up being gargoyles with upgrades, as the Dreadlord now trying to focus down a couple of these skeletal minions that are just in fact being extremely cumbersome. Alright, Null Overseer now down to 114 hit points. It looks like he'll get taken out, and the Dreadlord now with Dust of Appearance, Boots of Speed, and now using a Potion of Replenishment to try to get back into the game. Now, the Dreadlord first is a very viable option to go into gargoyles against an undead, because you have Vampiric Aura and your opponent does not. If you have Vampiric Aura and your opponent does not, gargoyles do an amazing amount of melee anti-air damage, and with that, all of a sudden, that 10% Vampiric Aura off of 40 to 60 damage ends up being very high, even just at level 1. Dreadlord continuing to clear out units here. However, skeletal minions are going to quickly spot the Dreadlord, as we're looking now at 120 coming up from the bottom. He does have a sacrificial skull. I am interested on how he's going to be using that. as the Sacrificial Skull heals both sets of undead units, not just your own. Down over here, we're taking a look at Black Citadel upgrades, Slaughterhouse coming into play. Meanwhile, there is the Crypt, there is a second Crypt, Ziggurats coming into play, there's a Sacrificial Pit. Nothing really showing me what the extra units are going to be for Lucifer. Perhaps once the Ziggurats are up, he will be able to start training those gargoyles. As I mentioned, there you have it. One gargoyle finally underway, as the Dreadlord hasn't really been landing his sleeps all that much after that initial surround on that Death Knight. You really have to expose and abuse the advantages you have with each of your heroes, and I don't believe that Lucifer is doing that just quite yet. The Death Knight is a much more versatile hero, and I wouldn't be surprised if, even though Lucifer has been playing this game extremely well, if 120's unit composition is just that much better because of the all-around versatility on that Death Knight. Alright, gargoyles are now up in the air. More gargoyles still being trained. They are only sitting at 0-0 upgrades, not getting 1-0 upgrades as of yet. But that damage is extremely, extremely high, as we're now looking at the Dark Ranger looking to pick off a handful of units. Alright, let's go after these units here. Null Warden, Dreadlord, Dark Ranger finishing off a handful of units. There is a sleep onto the Null Overseer, making sure that he does not wake up, adding more damage. Meanwhile, back over here, Lich by 120, getting a little bit of experience as it moves along its way to try and aggro the 3 o'clock position here. Gargoyles still easily taking down some of these Null Overseers. There we go. Dreadlord about 3.5. Dark Ranger about 1.5. As we saw what looked like, yeah, there was Blight here in order to heal, but some of it did end up getting cleared up. Gargoyles now once more on the move to try and take down some of these units. It looks like this one set of Skeletal Mains will end up being backed off again, as the Death Knight and the Lich now climb off to the north. 120 really hoping to pressure with these Crypt Fiends and slow and really just do a lot of damage here. The gargoyles are there, but once these Crypt Fiends get web, and I do believe that those gargoyles will just get plucked out of the sky. The piercing damage, even though the Crypt Fiends attack slow, is going to be far too much for those gargoyles to really handle. Alright, I believe Lich got up to level 2 just now. Level 2 Lich ready to go. Level 3 Death Knight Crypt Fiends being added again. And this is just looking out to be very good, as we see 2 Wand of the Winds on that Death Knight. Neutralize the heroes. Take down the small, rather unimposing gargoyles and ghouls. And then that is pretty much going to be it. Alright, Null Brute, Kobold Geomancer, Null off over here. We're looking at the ghouls just making their way to the bottom left. The gargoyles should be able to clear out this Red Drake creep camp with very little effort. As you can see, the Dark Ranger and the gargoyle going after the Red Drake, and that Red Drake is just pretty much getting torn apart there even before the second gargoyle gets there. Alright, gargoyle is now looking to finish off this last Null Warden. You can see Dark Ranger sitting at level 3. Meanwhile, on the top right, it looks like 120 used web instead in order to finish that off, and it looked like it worked rather well. Supply count 46 over 50 compared to 46 over 50. We are still neck and neck on everything, except that 120 is a bit, I believe, behind on either items or upgrades, hence the extra bank of money. So far, the Death Knight now trying to push forward, ending up getting slowed. There was an obsidian statue which could have been picked apart there, but no, the Squirrel Town Portal and the Black Citadel fighting back. Here we go. There's the engagement. Dark Ranger caught right up right there. There's the Carrion Swarm to try and save a handful of units. Lich now sitting up at level 3. We may see a Frost Nova somewhere, as the Lich now needs to back off. Lich is in a little bit of trouble. Another Crypt Fiend getting taken down there. There's a Death Coil for the save, as the ghouls may end up getting taken down. Oh, one more shot would have done it. Sleep onto the Death Knight. Death Knight now trying to get away. There is the Cyclone coming in from 120, and if the Dreadlord gets surrounded here, that is just going to be far too much damage. There is the Lich. Lich has taken a little bit of damage now, but he is currently fine, as a Crypt Fiend does get taken down. Death Knight going after the Dreadlord. Dreadlord down to 124 hit points, and there is a Frost Nova, but just not enough. The Obsidian statue able to heal and keep things alive for Lucifer. Lucifer now mounting up a little bit of a comeback here. Death Knight now seeing that at level 4. There is a Cyclone there picking up the Dreadlord and just completely nullifying him again. We are looking at this very strong push at the Death Knight. Now may be quick behind enemy lines. He cannot stay there as a Crypt Fiend falls on his watch while the Death Knight was asleep. All right, there you have it. You can see that the Dreadlord is now up in the air. All the units are now looking to march back as the Crypt Fiends, the Dreadlord, and the Crypt Fiends, the Dreadlord are now retreating back to their base. I believe the Dreadlord is still right there and looks a little bit worse for wear in this game. Down over here on the bottom left, Death Knight may try to clear out this creep camp. Probably doesn't know that the bottom left mercenary camp has already been cleared and nothing to really do there. Awake and Pray now moving to what remains here. Oh, drops an item, now giving it to the Death Knight, as the Death Knight now needs a little bit more mana. No destroyers for Essence of Mana, surprisingly, as the Lich picks off a handful of units. All right, those Murlocs hoping to spread around that poison damage, just walking around into and getting completely surrounded by these Crypt Fiends. Never a good place to be, as the Dreadlord is still sitting at level 4, Dark Ranger sitting at level 3, and picks up a Tome of Agility for a little bit more damage as well. Now, it looks like Lucifer is currently behind at this point in the game, and there's not much that he can really do in order to get out of it. His heroes are not as strong, level 4 and level 3, compared to what I believe to be a superior Death Knight Lich combination, especially as when it comes to trying to save your units. All you can do is try and sleep the Death Knight so that the death coils don't come in, but it's so easy to accidentally wake a sleeping Death Knight, and also sleep does not last that long on enemy heroes. Obsidian Statues now once more on the road off to the north, hoping to perhaps make a bit of a play here, clear out an expansion, and set themselves up for the mid-game. 120 walking around here still. We're now sitting at 60 over 60 supply compared to 49 over 60. So it looks like 120 is looking to finish this game. Instead of trying to expand like most players would do, he is actually just trying to bring forth units and finish things off. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Down over here, Gargoyles now clearing off these poor Kobold Geomancers. There they go. Lucifer is getting more and more units, but a very strong push now inside the main base of Lucifer. 120 wants to finish things here, and now going quickly after that Altar of Darkness. A lot of piercing, magical, and hero damage coming forth from this army, which is not that big of a threat. However, 120 now brings in a Frost Worm as well. The Frost Worm really adding in that damage, as we are now looking at more and more units in this fight. Gargoyles ending up trying to make their way over, but they're all just getting webbed down by the Crypt Fiends, as the Crypt Fiends can now easily just focus down one Gargoyle at a time. If they do exactly that, they should be fine, as the Frostworms are still trying to fight back here. All right, unit after unit still going down. The Frostworms should perhaps be going after the Gargoyles should be going after the Frostworms. However, 120 with those Crypt Fiends, and the Crypt Fiends are just causing so many problems, and Lucifer is being forced to chase here, and because he's being forced to chase in a fight that he doesn't want to be in, he's going to end up losing a lot more than expected. All right, it looks like we are at tipping point, and Lucifer ends up losing game 2 in the series. We are all tied up. There is a game 3, but for some reason I cannot load it on my machine. So once more, a 2-game set where we have one winner each. At least I didn't spoil it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.